So now we will go on to our next session. I'm going to stick around for the next 45 minutes, and then you won't hear from me pretty well for the rest of the day, apart from one breakout session we're doing later. I promise you won't hear from me. Okay, so if you can just change the slides to the other slide, please, and then we'll move into our next event. And once we get that up, I'll invite our panelists to come and join us. So what we're doing now, we're actually going to, I spoke earlier about our coffee clubs. We're actually going to do one of our credit and collection coffee clubs live on the stage here. All right, so for how many of you are familiar with our coffee clubs? I know many of you have attended. Okay, that's nice. But some of you haven't. And for those of you who haven't, the coffee club is normally an online event, right? And we try to make it very interactive. All right, so it's not just, I mean, God forbid, it's not just me rattling on for an hour talking about a subject. We always have specialist presenters come and join us. In this case, it's Olga and Bruce. So we'll be kicking off the conversation. We'll be talking about this initiative here, but we really want your questions from the floor as well, please. All right, so we want all the way through. So we want to make it a little bit random, a little bit dangerous. We don't know what questions you're going to ask. We can get Chucky over here. We can get him into action. Okay, so let's have lots of questions from you guys as well. All right, preferably vocal questions, right? Just for this one session. I mean, you can put stuff through the app if you want, but this time we'd rather we did it talk to each other. Okay, so here we go. So it's my great pleasure to welcome up here Olga and Bruce, if you kindly come and join us, please. So a round of applause for our panelists. Come and join us, make yourselves comfortable. You're very welcome. Okay, so our subject today, we're talking about bridging the gap between university and the workplace. Now I know I think this is a recurring theme with most of you, for your new employees. And so the Prague City University have come up with a very interesting initiative that I'm also part of, and I'm very proud to be part of it as well. So we're going to discuss that and many things, sort of how it all came to being. So these are going to be our questions for the day. All right, this is our subject. So we have this this initiative from what they call the Industry Council. All right, so it's a connection between companies like yours and Prague City University. All right, so that's what we're going to do. Okay, so a warm welcome. Good socks, by the way, very jolly. Yes, especially chosen for today, I'm sure. So, okay, okie dokie. So for the audience, we have a question for you guys, just to kind of get you going. What university or university workplaces initiatives are you aware of? Do you have projects going on to connect with universities yourselves or other companies that you know? So if you can share that with us, if you can put that through the app, we would appreciate that, please. Okay, all right then. So good morning to you both. Thank you both very much for being here. Olga, perhaps if you could just introduce yourself, tell us a bit about yourself.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Olga Ismagilova. I am fellow chartered management accountant. I represent CIMA here in Czech Republic and responsible for engagement members and students. And CIMA personally helped me to grow career over 5 countries and 2 continents. And I'm also part of I'm vice chair of the Mainland Europe Committee for all the members and students based in mainland Europe, except the United Kingdom. With the finance background, I'm very closely was working with collectors, so that CIMA professional qualification, and to see that's all in parallel as part of our professional development. Apart from that, I am mentor in 3 international organizations and career coach.
Thank you. Bruce?
Thank you, Mark, for inviting us both to this really grand event.
Yeah.
My name is Bruce Gahir, and I'm the Associate Dean at the university here, called Prague City University. And my focus and teaching and research is very much focused on the cross between financial accounting, reporting, management accounting, and IT implementations. So, I mean, I think lucky enough that this semester I also became the program leader for the School of Computing. So the idea there is to overlap business, finance, accounting, and IT. So this is essentially what we have here, right?
Yes, very much so.
So Mark mentioned the industry network. This is an initiative that started in 2023, September, so it's been going on for a year. And the idea of that initiative was that organizations that are present here and part of the changing evolution of implementation of technology into services, these organizations become our industry partners. And this involves, it's a free membership, but it involves an exchange where we invite guest speakers from your organizations to come and talk to the students relating to what the students are studying. We are fortunate that we are a British university in Prague, so our qualifications, the masters and bachelors we are offering, are British university degrees. So we have great flexibility in implementing areas within the syllabus. So it's not so bureaucratic. They are accredited by the Czech Ministry of Education. That sometimes is a hurdle, but otherwise we are flexible in developing curriculum which integrates new areas like fintech, AI, machine learning tools in management accounting and reporting and so on. So when students are studying these, the idea of the industry network members is to come with some guest speakers who are actually utilizing these tools in the workplace and complement the studies, the theoretical studies that are taking place in the lecture room. So students actually meet and get an idea of real-life examples and case studies which they can utilize. The second initiative of this industry network is actually to take students out of the classroom and take them to the organization where we can do projects together. Now, these involve several hurdles because doing a project with large companies and so on involves a lot of non-disclosure agreements being signed and so on. So it takes a bit of time to get rolling. We've done 2 projects with very big companies during this academic year that just finished in June 2024, and a few are planned. Again, it's like the one that you are doing with the university, the research project. So we've done several, and they've been very successful in providing students with skills, relevant skills in the workplace, and even job opportunities. So Olga is involved in this as a catalyst, as a career catalyst. So these students are getting the theory in the classroom, complementing it with guest speaking from the real life workplace, and getting experience by doing a supervised project within the organization where AI tools are implemented, or they can suggest where AI tools can be implemented. And at the same time, their career prospects are catapulted by the experience that Olga is bringing to mentor and guide students with their careers. Guest speakers are also part of the industry network. So university lecturers like myself, who's done my specialization has been supply chain management, and particularly identifying tools which develop things like collaborative trust between buyers and suppliers. So if anybody's interested in that arena, please contact me and I can share my tools which are being implemented as AI tools at the moment with a few companies. We are testing this research. So guest speakers also go the other way. I can go to companies and show them what research we are doing, right? This pushes your boundaries further because you're involved in the daily, day-to-day rigmarole of meeting demands, deadlines, and so on. but you can also experience what research is taking place in your particular fields in supply chain management, for example. So this is the overall idea of the industry network, and we are progressing forward with it. So, thank you.
Going well so far. Okay. So what do we, when we start talking about this gap between university and the workplace, what exactly do we mean? What are sort of the tangible examples of that? You know, graduates leave school, they go to work, so there's something in between then, there's this gap. And it's not just here, it's everywhere, I think, isn't it? It's a very general thing. Yeah? So perhaps, Olga, do you want to start with that? What do we mean by this gap between uni and the workplace?
And the gap, because I was working also the path as a CIMA student, right, up to the gap accountant, like up to the C4 level, right? What I observed then, when we have a gap, like even syllabus can be revised and being brought closer to reality. For example, the skills in sustainability and AI. But when we get our professional qualification, or we just left the university and we start our professional career and we have some sort of imagination how it will grow, the responsibility is on us, because life strategy will also define the career strategy. And then when we see like we want to grow to that level, we actually, most of the people think from the money perspective on this level, like what I want to earn. But if you will start thinking from the skills you need to be there, it will be easier. That will be gap. In that gap, like on each level of the ladder, this gap can be closed by 3 components, right? Like if talking about knowledge, it's like courses, being the members of this, like attending the conferences, only 10% is getting from the knowledge. 20% when we're learning and getting insight from also mistakes of other people, and 70% is on job experience. That is like the statistics from vocational guidance. And when it's easy, the most important, like when you just even reading the job posting and comparing what is in the market demanded and what I have, and then seeing the gap, that you can construct your own gap analysis and like what I need to in order to close the gap and create your own personal development plan, and then find the right institutions where we can close the gap. It's quite logical. And what I can say that for the hard skills to develop, it's 2 to 6 months is enough to develop the hard skills, even to change the profession. But for the soft skills, it takes longer. So that the institutions, the professional qualification, they will help you to progress, but the responsibility is on the person itself to choose the right, like what is the better matching the career strategy of a particular person.
Thank you. Bruce, do you want to add to that from your perspective, perhaps sure. From the other side?
Sure. I think the gap arises inherently because traditionally universities have been offering academic qualifications. She's a bachelor's, master's. MBA, though, I think overlaps a little bit with the work experience environment. However, generally, the tradition has been, even here in the Czech Republic very much so, that the qualifications of baccalaureate or magister and so on are traditionally academic. So you get students going through the syllabus, doing examinations, getting their bachelor certificate at the end of the day, and then they have to start looking for jobs. And they begin to experience the lack of skills. So this gap, I think, is arising first when a student is completing their university degrees and embarking on the working environment to try and look for a job. And then they find that the skills that are required, particularly these days with the changing environment where IT implementation is fast and it's changing every 2-3 years, these skills need to be updated for people even in the workplace environment. So these students are trying to keep up, and often they are very much, while being at university, they're very much pressurized on passing their exams, so they've got little time or available for going for extracurricular skills, maybe on LinkedIn or Coursera to update their IT skills. So they end up missing out on what is required in the workplace. So workplace environments, jobs, companies are taking them up in a job position and then are quickly training them. Hence there's a training expense and a budget set up for this so that they are on stream to meet their job requirements. So there's a gap there existing. There is also, I think, a gap where once the student has joined the organization, to what extent are organizations actually offering professional development within the job situation to keep up with the implementation of new technologies in the workplace? Often, I've seen that people in companies are too busy, meeting the daily demands. So the professional training and development of the employee is kept. Some companies prioritize it and some don't. And there is a slight gap there too. So the gaps are present at different levels. But coming back to the first gap between the university student and the workplace, I think that things are changing because you're getting more and more companies now realizing that if we engage with students while students are in their first, second, and third year of a bachelor's course, engage using certain initiatives, like, for example, companies that have large IT-based, cloud-based platforms and packages that are being utilized in their organization, like SAP HANA, for example, they are bringing that already into the first year and second year of the universities and saying to us, look, why don't we integrate this into your curriculum? If you're going to be teaching management accounting and you're going to be teaching supply chain management or working capital management, then why don't we integrate the package that we are using into your syllabus so students get direct experience in using this in their assignments? So this is happening now. It's beginning to happen. Particularly I've noticed this in this year, 23, 24. And hence the student ends up getting the bachelor's plus a whole load of skills. They can actually create a portfolio of skills which they have in the utilization of different tools for management accounting skills or financial accounting or even HR and marketing. We have been implementing this via the industry network. So at Prague City University, the students start their bachelor's in, for example, international finance and business accounting, and at the end of the first year, there's an opportunity for them to start the CIMA professional accounting qualification, which Olga's talking about. Now, this is a professional accounting qualification and not an academic, so that requires, as part of the route to qualify, CIMA requires work experience of 3 years. So by the end of the second year, we are assisting students to get internships, certain amount of work experience, and also integrating collaborative tools with certain big organizations in Prague where students are getting this experience. So there is a gap. However, there are initiatives which can kind of lessen this gap and cause a bridge to develop between the students and the working environment.
And it's good that it's recognized, and like you said, your SAP and so on are actually working with students within their first, second or third years, so that when they actually get into the workplace, they're more familiar with at least SAP and stuff like that, which I know from my experience as an employer, that wasn't the case. I was employing, like in Brno and so on, I was employing finance graduates, and we're kind of starting again right from the very beginning. This is SAP, this is credit, so we're starting right back at the beginning. So I think at least having some degree of awareness of, like you said, SAP is what it is, and it takes you to all the different sort of financial pillars. That's very commendable in itself, and I can see there's still a lot of opportunities to go further. And I've done a couple of guest lectures with you over the years on the credit side, and part of what we're talking about is the young boys and girls at the back there. Most they're finance students, so we ask them to come in, one, to help us, but also to be party to a lot of the presentations, so they can get some understanding of our side of finance as well. So, and I would say I must commend Bruce for kind of seeing that opportunity and making this happen, right? So thanks for that. But let's stay on the subject. I think you've answered some of the first couple of points in both of you in the first questions, but let's have a look now. So what do what do graduates expect? If we look at it from the other perspective now, when graduates are getting towards the end of their studies, what do they expect from an employer? What are they looking for? And how do we bridge the gap the other way for them? Right? Yeah, what do the graduates expect? When young people are getting towards the end of their studies, what's their perception of what they're going to get when they go to work?
Question. Most of the graduates expect that learning possibilities. Closer, okay. They want to progress their career. They want to have clear career path and as fast as possible. And when the person, like just fresh graduate, joins, that if he doesn't see that he is progressing within 1 year, sometimes upset, that's career crisis. But in order to progress, like in order to be stable in the first job, like 1 or 2 years of real experience, real practical experience. And then they want to match like what they learned at the university and how they can apply and how to maintain the motivation. If they don't see that like the company is not encouraging like in terms of career progression, they're trying to leave. But here, like we need to understand that the career path is not like straight away going like that. Some people will be like really going into the functional career, like more deeply knowing what about his profession. And the gap is sometimes in some geographies, what I heard the expression, that when you leave the university and they join the workplace, and the employers tell, like, forget what you have learned, that you will be learning from scratch now. But this time's already changing, because when we're already learning, we have so much information available, what to expect, like, and then, for example, CIMA, that they're making, because it's not academic, it's professional qualification, and every 3-4 years, there is the revision of syllabus to the application of the knowledge, what is expected by business, what digital mindset, AI, sustainability, like already picking up the key skills. For example, referring to the World Economic Forum, like when we're reading World Economic Forum reports, the future of jobs, we can see which skills are now demanded at the high demand. Referring to 2023 report, AI and big data and sustainability stewardship grew by 10-12 positions up. So right after the publication of this report, a lot of courses appeared in terms of sustainability and AI. That's already meeting the expectation. So that, and also CIMA, for example, is going this way, that every 2 to 3 years, we are participating in discussion of future finance profession. And then this resource is available for free, and it's like Future Finance 2.0, because finance profession, it's also related to corporate finance, to investment, to collectors. We are still part of finance field, that in our profession is also evolving and requiring the new skills. So this gap, yes, but when we know how to close this gap, and also asking the employer, can we subscribe for that learning opportunities? That will be like really good benefit, because it will meet in the demand, supply and demand. If people in the company start asking, we need these skills, employer will be listening. And the opportunities are like enormous around like for learning, but you need to select the right one.
If I can,
Bruce,
if I can just pick up on some of your points, and I'll come to you, Bruce. So you were saying about graduates want to go to work and they want an identified career and so on, and they want to move fast in the first year and so on. So there's 2 things with that. One, do universities kind of manage, well, that's 3 things, I think, really. One, do universities manage expectations? You know, you've got to learn your trade, you know, and you can't just rattle up a career path in year one. It takes 3 to 5 years, 10,000 hours if you like. So do you manage expectations on that side? Also, I think employers are also kind of quite guilty of creating this skills gap, I think, because what you were saying, you know, about you get people all excited about going to work and then they say, right, you're going to work in that silo, you're going to do that, you know, that process, right? So a lot of perhaps the energy, the excitement is kind of taken away quite early on as well, because we talked a lot about this yesterday. It's changing, but, you know, for many years now it's been just, you know, you work in cash allocation or accounts payable, you know, these tiny little sort of sections, you know, without being able to breathe all the way through the organization.
I think, Mark, I have something to add. When we come to the education, like it's also like knowledge, we can look at how we can bridge knowledge and skills, upskilling, right? Like if we look at the 4 blocks, like we're starting with the knowledge, 10% we're getting from the knowledge. Then we start applying that knowledge through the case studies, for example, of the real life scenarios, that we are start building the skill and connecting the knowledge to the already application, and that is the starting point for building the skill. And building the skill, and when we build the skill, like a certain number of hours and learning curve, and then we go with, like, we are quite confident in our skill, we are building the mastery or competency, so that not all people are going into this mastery session, like the competency. A lot of people remain in this application and skill, and it's also enough. And when we see that, for example, we have a gap in certain skills, you know, Excel or the AI, we are mostly trying to get the knowledge and a little bit of applying. But if we will continue and clear understanding, okay, this is knowledge, application, and skill, this upskilling, that you will nourish your career path tremendously, like, because like it's clearly how it's linked, and that upskilling will be required in every profession in the near future. It's already demanded. It's also even attendance of this conference and networking and listening to what other people tell us. That's also some sort of educational experience, because you are expanding your mind. You're getting some fresh thoughts, and then you will come back to your real life, your real work, and you start applying some of the thoughts that will knowledge, application, and what do I want to develop it further.
Okay, thanks. Bruce, do you want to carry on there?
Yes, I think you were asking the question there on the screen about what do graduates expect. I often ask them the question, quite a few of them are there at the back. I often ask them the question and say that they should be asking, what is it that they can offer to the workplace environment? So having studied the theoretical subjects at university, passed their exams and so on, what is it, what skills have they acquired which they can say, I can confidently offer this in the workplace environment? Now, for this to happen, I think we need to integrate in the teaching what are the practical requirements of working in an accounts payable, working capital environment and so on, wherever they are interested in working, or in marketing or in HR. What are the pressures that are experienced there by employees who are already established in companies and so on. And this is where I think the exchange, where guest speakers from organizations can come in and talk to these students and participate with students and put forward their different experiences, that it's not all a jolly. You can have very mundane tasks where at the year end, you are working hours through the night trying to balance books and so on and so forth, even though they are on the cloud and so on. But these kind of tasks and these experiences are part and parcel of the whole learning route, right, of progression of transferring the knowledge into skills. So this reality check, I think, can be offered by existing employees in companies coming and engaging with students at university, offering guest speaking, offering some workshops, and engaging them and saying, this is the kind of thing that you'll be doing. And this is the kind of thing that you will be working with, the tools, the software packages, and so on. So then at the end, when they finish their 3-year bachelor's degree, they can say, yes, I have this to offer. I realize where I'm going to be working. I know the pressures. I have the theoretical skills, which hardly, by the way, we end up using in the workplace environment. You know, when I did my CIMA many years back, I hardly used any of that stuff when I first started as a financial analyst in HSBC in the center of London. Right? Nothing was there from the books. It was something completely different. 80% of that was managing the IT team to create reporting methodologies and develop software tools for HSBC. So this is the area where they need to learn, which is not sometimes taught. The HR skills, the interpersonal skills, working with a cross-cultural environment team, these are skills which are developed in the workplace environment. However, I think we are fortunate that Prague City University has students from many different cultures, very diverse group of students. So we are already integrating the assignment work as group project work. And bringing somebody from the organization into this group project assignment helps a lot. They can actually manage this team of people, of students. So I think at the end of the day, the answer there, you know, what do graduates expect, is really what they should be building throughout the 3 years of their time at university, to a point where they can confidently say in the interviews when they are going for working, I can offer this to you, right? Because these are the skills I have.
Trying to put myself back into being an employer's position and having that conversation. It would have been a great conversation to have, so thank you for that. I'm pleased to say Esther was grabbing my coat just now, saying we've got lots of questions from the audience. So Esther, would you ask them, please? We have I don't have any other microphones here. Oh, hang on, where's the... Oh, right, there it is, yeah, okay. I'm going to throw it to you. Excellent.
Good?
Yep.
Thank you. So question, do you measure what career path the fresh graduates choose? What is the percentage in GBS, entrepreneurs, academic research, etc.?
Yes, we do have student alumni, and we follow them up over many years post-university, and we are aware of the kind of career paths that they have ended up in. I would say that in the number of students who are studying bachelors in international management at PCU and the bachelors in international finance and business accounting, so last year in June 2023, that's the academic year that completed. Now 2024 is just finished in June, and we haven't analyzed the results of where they're working, so that will be happening now. But 2023 data shows that about 70% of them have ended up in that arena. 70% of international management and finance and accounting bachelor students. Yep.
Pretty impressive. So the next question would be, from your experience, what is better, to start a professional experience during your studies, or to focus solely on the academic side with some internship and then move to the job market?
Scott, yeah? Olga, do you want to take that one?
Your experience, what is better, to start your professional experience during your studies, or to focus solely on the academic side and then go into some internship and then move to the job market?
Very good question. I can say that also depends on the career preferences and motivation, because some people are more into the academic path. But actually, how you can explain your career path It's like if you start professional experience, then you shift to the academic, and then that's all explainable, because if you led by the interest, you are upskilling and you're getting some expanding your knowledge bank, that you will be even more demanded. Let me explain from the career theory, because it's not only when we grow vertical or doing the horizontal functional career, it can be zigzag career. When we shift the industry or we shift the profession, sometimes when we shift the profession, we need to get that learning experience, like that, to get that theory in order to completely shift the field. That in that case, we might be going one level down, like on the position and the package, but we very quickly in the new field, because we have transferable skills, we can lift within 1 or 2 years in the new profession, because whatever we learned and we're already able to do in terms of our skill set, it's not wasted. It's not wasted time. It's not wasted like experience that can be repacked with the application to the new, so that all career paths is possible. Just going into professional experience, and then during professional experience, shifting like to academic and getting the knowledge, and then returning to professional experience. That even if you have a gap, for example, one type of career, the people leaving corporate and starting the expert entrepreneurial career, entrepreneurial is also career. That's also learning, because you are making a little bit decisions another way. And currently, what's happening in the market, it's not about like vertical or horizontal career. It's about hybrid career and portfolio career, when the people can maintain few projects and they have like can be employed and having their consultancy. This is now, it's a trend, it's shifting the trend from lifetime learning into lifetime employability. And when we're getting the skills along the way, that we want to extend our employable age. I mean, like, it's not like period. And then it's not related to the age. It's like we can develop certain skills, like, for example, professionally developing and being consultant, and then becoming the mentor and coach. That's also part of career development. Yes, Mark?
Thank you. Okay. Do you want to add to that, Bruce?
Yes. Could I just add to that a little bit about what Olga was just mentioning? I think the question is demarcating theory with practice. In other words, there is just the theory part, and then I'll get an internship, and I'll go and get some work experience, and then I'll come back and finish my final year or so on, and then I'll get my bachelor's. And the other one is I'll go out to work first, and then I will come back and I'll finish my theory and I think this is the traditional model, if one is fortunate enough, where they are doing the theory, which is being integrated in the workplace environment. So if I'm going to teach working capital analysis, I will bring someone from GBS and so on, or I will ask Mark to come in, right, and say, could you do a workshop or a seminar where they're going to study working capital analysis, not from the book and the equations and do some questions, but actually doing it, what happens in a company.
So some of this, if I just say some of this, like what we used to call an apprenticeship. Yeah, it'd be a mixture of work and
Exactly.
study. Yeah, yeah.
So the classroom is a kind of changed. There is the theory being delivered within the context of what is happening in the workplace environment. So this is the role of engaging through the industry network with companies where guest speakers and people can come in and say, okay, I'm going to be delivering this semester. Would you like to come in 4 weeks' time? And here is what I'm going to be teaching. And you can talk about what actually happens in your department. So this student is ending up getting the relevant experience, not after they've done their theory, but while they are doing their theory. So
That's a good mix. More questions, Esther?
Yeah, more.
Yeah, great. Fire away.
How can universities and educators effectively prepare students for a future work environment that include multiple generations, particularly in terms of psychological strategies for interacting with and understanding coworkers? Tough question, I know.
Yes. There's a lot there about the psychology of
and
the
we have
workplace.
about 8 minutes left.
Yes. Psychology of the workplace, interaction. Well, my simple answer to this would be, and I have been driving all my experience from teaching at universities in this direction, is to try and engage the student with the workplace environment as much as possible. So if there are strategies that leadership strategy, we go and study leadership, we read books on leadership, the Harvard Business Review, the magazine itself, and the key readings are full of leadership theories. But the problem there is how do we translate all that into the workplace environment where you are put in the workplace environment and you have to manage people from different cultures, from different backgrounds, from different intellects, and from different abilities of picking up things fast or slow.
Can I interject there, Bruce? The spirit is certainly willing from the side of the university, right? Are you getting the equal and opposite response from the workplace? I mean, are there many companies that are, or can we say here that you want more? Because there's quite a few Prague-based companies here. You would need more companies to be able to accommodate the students so they can do this blended kind of learning, workplace and study. Yeah, so there's still room for more, right? So you would welcome these guys to come to you and say, hey, we can take one student every quarter or something. Yeah,
definitely.
Okay.
Definitely. At the moment, the way things are and the way I sense things are is we have to go and contact the companies. We have to sell what we are trying to drive in the academic environment, and we have to, in other words, market and say this will be the advantage for you, and this will be the advantage for us, and this will be the advantage for students.
And the employers don't just have to be in Prague or the Czech Republic. They could be elsewhere. Yeah, so it could be anywhere.
Yes.
So really, that's an open invitation then to these guys who are coming from many European countries to speak to these guys, and if you can offer this opportunity, please do. So, Olga?
Maybe I can add just a couple of words. I worked a lot with the graduates, because when they're searching for a job and as you look at the job postings and I don't have the skills, they are horrified, I cannot sell, my resume is not sufficient, etc. And I'm just reverting back, listen, let's look at the success story inventory. We call success story, your skills inventory, how you use that, because you already participated in some internships or you were doing some sort of volunteering when you organized the group. It's already leadership. When we start looking into that aspect, what we already have, maybe being during the school times or college times, we lead some projects, we can already show that we have that skill. Maybe it's knowledge, application, and a little bit skill, but when we're able to tell about that in using STAR formula, how you apply that the person is already the graduate, yes, I have it, but the person already working into the real life environment with more confidence. That's also self-work, self-help. So there is a gap, but when you guide it properly, how to pack it, how to tell that you already have skills applicable for that work environment, you just don't know how to tell about that. That's all.
Can I add something else? I think you mentioned it in the question, Esti, about multi-generational as well. And I think from my own, I graduated in my 40s, so I was a mature student, as they say. And I guess this focus primarily has been on younger people going through the traditional route to the workplace. If you are, with the advent of technology and lots of other opportunities now, are there also places for people who have been working for 20 or 30 years, so they're in their 40s and their 50s, that they can take a new direction in their career? And what we've been talking about for the last half an hour or so would also apply to people 35 plus, 40 plus, right? Is that very much in your scope as well? So you don't have to be 22 to be doing this, basically, right? Okay. So, which is great, isn't it? Because it's important that with AI and all these other things coming along, you've got so many people who've been working in finance and other areas for 20, 30 years, and they could then take their vast experience and take it into this new opportunity as well. And PCU would embrace that as well.
Oh, yes, Mark, because we have master's courses, 2 One is in international management, which is for full-time students, and the other one is in leadership and strategic management, which is specifically geared for people who are working. One of the prerequisites for doing that course is that you have to be working at least 3 years and bring your experience to this course. Not only then are you getting the delivery of the theory, but your work experience and the working environment, if you are still a working student while doing that, the project that you will do in your final year is geared to your work.
Two-way thing.
Yes.
Yeah, brilliant.
And those students are then brought sometimes as guest speakers lower down to the bachelors.
Yeah.
So we have a student, for example, I call a student, but he's in his late 40s, and he's with Johnson & Johnson, and he is just finished his master's in leadership and strategic management, and now he is doing guest speaking, engaging students at the bachelor's level.
Okay.
Right? So there is this kind of circular flow of experience and knowledge also taking place. Just coming back to the question, the large one with a lot in it, I just had a thought, and I think one thing that students really have to also realize is this, that not everything is available for them while they're studying. You know, I've talked about initiatives that the industry network is bringing, the knowledge, integrating all these. They will be better students by the time they finish, and I think will be in a better position to say to their prospective employer, this is what I can bring to you when they follow this route. However, there are some things, I think, which are only learned in the workplace environment. You know, I'll take the analogy of a mountain biker. If I'm learning how to mountain bike, you know, I can bring an experienced mountain biker to come and show me some of the things, and I practice and train with that person, right? And I get the relevant skills and the theory of how to look after my mountain bike. But it's only when I alone go up that mountain trek route that I will get the experience which is necessary.
That's a nice analogy. It's awful different when you're doing it, isn't it? Yeah.
And this, I think, students need to be aware of too.
Okay, I think we have one more. Thank you for that. One more question, and then we're getting close to time. So thank you.
So the question goes, we are just starting a cooperation with one of the universities in Budapest, and we were asked to lead a case study course for the students. We don't have direct teaching experience with universities. Do you have any recommendations how to make this course a success story?
Oh, ask us. That's the one. Sorry, from your perspective. Do you want to just ask the question again, please?
So how can you make a student course successful based on a business case?
Can I just quickly answer that?
Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah.
I think the person who's asked this question should contact us, and I can lead a small seminar or a workshop on suggesting to you, free this is, on how to engage students and make a rich case study experience.
Thank you. Olga?
I would add that know your own values and interests, because like when you know your values, what is actually driving you, your fundamental values, and you can also compare to the values of the company published on the website, that you can see whether your inner culture like matching to the corporate culture. That's like values are fundamental, interests are driving through the life, career preferences like guiding how you make decision. But what I can say, whatever you study, like you know, this is just the start of the lifetime progression. Because we study with knowledge, application, skills, like this is the personal and professional development, and then this we either going through the evolutionary path and being up with the market and beat the market, or we will stop and stagnate, and then we will be following the market. We will not be employable. So that's better to keep your motivation and inner motivation and seeing what is actually inspires you and following your interest.
We're going to have to wrap up there, but I know we always have. We always say the success of our coffee clubs is when we actually run out of time, because we've had lots of questions from the audience. We've done that again, so thank you very much for the questions. I have to say it's been an honor and a privilege to share the stage with you guys this morning. I think the education and the employer-employee relationship is in good hands with you guys. So bless you. Thank you very much for coming today, and a big round of applause for our panel today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Yes.
Don't go just yet. We have a small gift for you. So if you just wait 1 second, as a token of our appreciation. So thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Okay. So if you'd just like to make your way down, thank you very much. So thank you. It was really great. Thanks a lot. Okay. These guys will be hanging around for a while, so please do come and talk to them. All right, thank you. Okay. All right then. So on